Right now it's minus 31 with the wind in Ottawa.
All right, let's talk Oscars. They were on last night, and Christopher Redmond, Ottawa filmmaker and critic from Dear Cast and Crew, in studio this morning. Hello, Christopher.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. All right, so what did you think of Ellen's performance on the whole show?
Yeah, well, let's start with that. They always say there's a pressure, right, hosting the Oscars about being funny, and a lot of us feel like it's not maybe warranted as much because it's kind of like a series finale, how when you kind of expect that to be the funniest episode for some reason, doesn't really make sense. This is the last award show of the season, but the stage is so big, you expect the laughs to be that big as well.
Right.
Not really the case with Ellen, right?
No.
She sort of treated this like it was just another daytime episode for her of her TV show.
Yeah.
So she does some of her, staples. There's a little bit of, mingling with the audience and all that stuff. And it was kind of quaint and irreverent. It's funny because you expect it to be really formal, and she kind of brings down the class a bit. And so there's a bit of tension there, like, oh, this is different. But at the same time, it kind of drags on, right? She's bringing pizzas out for everyone, which is just this weird kind of informal thing that went on so long that it became funny, and then it kind of became not funny anymore. But seeing Harrison Ford just dive into that pizza real serious, like, I mean, the guy was hungry, so that's a memory for sure.
Well, when they cut off some speeches that were kind of interesting speeches anyways and give her time to hand out pizzas in the audience.
They block out 3 minutes so she can hand out pizzas, and they cut out
That's always the crime. And who I always respect Jon Stewart, because I remember one year he said, I have a bit of dialogue I was supposed to do, but I'm going to cut it because this last person got cut off from their speech, and he gave them the extra time. So I'll always remember that, because it's true. These people, it's their big moment, and some of these speeches last night were quite good. It was actually one of the highlights, believe it or not. What I found were the actual speeches people were giving.
Well, Leto's speech right out of the gate, I don't know, bring the Oscars to the world and to tell the world that they, sure, we're here celebrating and doing all this stuff, and it's navel gazing for a lot of the people there, but to let the world know that they are not forgotten or being thought of at this time, I think was very
it was really nice of Jared Leto, and then he plugged his band. So, take your moment, I guess, right? Pick your moment that you like.
So surprises, any
highlights
for you? What were they?
Now, this is a little bit of Monday morning quarterbacking, I realize, but advice for everyone next year. When you're looking to see who's going to win, the best cheat sheet is to go, most of the big categories have guilds, right? They have their own unions, and they vote on all these categories. So in all the big categories, there were no big surprises, right? So all the actors vote. You want to see who's going to win all the acting categories? Go to the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guilds, and all the actors were there. Cinematographers, director, all these awards kind of go out in their own guilds earlier, and then the rest of the Academy kind of follows suit. It's the technical awards that become surprising, right? So it was a big sweep for gravity. It was almost like there was some, strange natural force attracting all the Oscars to gravity. But the real wild card when you're doing these Oscar things is always the short films, right? There's 3 different short film categories for live action, animation, and documentary, and that's sort of like the short track speed skating event, right? Where it's just a total wild card, unless there's a short film about the Holocaust, always wins. So always look for that.
Right.
Otherwise, it's kind of anyone's game. Anyone can fall, and that's where things really kind of are up in the air. But otherwise, no big surprises.
Funny. Anybody could be Australian.
That's right. Yeah. But, and Matthew McConaughey wins. This was obviously one of the bigger ones because the big kind of head-to-head battle with Leonardo DiCaprio. I know my sister was squealing and screaming when he didn't win, and she was very angry. She's a big Leo fan. But this was sort of the coming full circle of Matthew McConaughey's renaissance, the McConaissance, as it was. So he was very much, written off as an actor kind of in the early part of the decade. He was only taking these ridiculous kind of romantic comedies. Yes. And he made a conscious decision, quite famously now, a couple of years ago, where he decided, you know what, I'm not doing this stuff anymore. He was offered the lead role in a Magnum P.I. movie for $15 million. This was sort of the watershed mark where he said, you know what, I'm not doing that stuff anymore. I'm going to take small roles, bit parts, change my career. And it sure has paid off for him.
Wow, no kidding.
And so the big movie itself, best movie, did the best movie win?
I think it actually did. Yeah, 12 Years a Slave is really the prestige picture of the year. And if you go by some of the forecasters for that category as well, like the Toronto International Film Festival, the Audience Award, it did win that award. And that's usually a good sign. King's Speech, Slumdog Millionaire, a lot of these films end up winning the Oscar. Right. And so I really think it was the best film. And it was nice to change it up from Gravity because it was really kind of a black hole of award winners last night.
Well, I think over time it's probably going to mean a lot more as well, that film, isn't it?
It's true, yeah. And, the writing writing one as well. And that book, 12 Years a Slave, is being incorporated into American curriculums as well. So it's really had a positive impact, and that's nice to see.
Good stuff. Thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate
No problem.
it.
Thanks.
Christopher Redmond is an Ottawa filmmaker and critic from Dear Cast and Crew. There's a link for him at live885.com, and then click on Startup. It's 8:46 now.